and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you guys and gals. So remember that scumbag, that guy, that former Obama administrator, who Stuart Seldowitz, who was harassing a Egyptian food vendor? Look, folks, everyone's trying to get on by. All of us are. I see in the live stream chat, we're all trying to get on by in a world that's understandably out of our control. And this guy, Stuart, picked a fight and kept on harassing this vendor for no reason whatsoever. And yes, we did clip the video, so you could check out the original video in our collection. But turns out, my lovelies, he has just been arrested, in custody, faces hate crime charges after halal cart confrontation. Hey, some justice, I guess we could take it. Okay, whatever. Upper East Side Manhattan, a former Obama administrator, advisor, was taken into police custody Wednesday and faces hate crime charges after a confrontation at halal cart market in Manhattan was caught on camera, police say. Stuart Seldowitz lives around the corner from the halal cart. Several videos captured a former diplomat allegedly harassing the vendor about his Egyptian roots and Islamic faith. Seldowitz was fired from his work with lobbying and communications firm Gotham Government Relations. A hate crime investigation was opened by the NYPD after Seldowitz was filmed allegedly harassing a food cart vendor on the Upper East Side. Now, in the video that was uploaded by Case Study QB, the individual, Stuart, went on to say that apparently this all started when he had a little bit of a conversation with the cart vendor, a deep philosophical, political conversation, and was deeply offended by the vendor's takes. Now, I'm willing to bet that the vendor was just trying to mind his own business, like, hey, how you doing? I don't know. Like, again, you're serving food in New York City. It's November. It's cold. You're trying to get the money, trying to pay the bills. But the way Stuart was portraying it was like, oh, he was saying hateful remarks and everything else. But Stuart kept on coming by. Now, look, I'm a believer of if there's a business or a TV show or something you don't like, you avoid it. Stuart kept on coming by this halal cart vendor and just kept on harassing him, saying horrible, racist, bigoted things, okay? The videos are all out there. This guy kept on going there, instigating things 24/7. It's not good. So he was taken into custody on Wednesday and now faces 1 count of aggravated harassment of race or religion and 4 counts of stalking as a hate crime. All of these charges are considered misdemeanors. Seldowitz had nothing to say to reporters as he walked out of his 19th precinct in handcuffs. And actually, we have the video in question right here. So let's go ahead and bring it up for all you beautiful people to see firsthand. Hey, I bet this guy's having a very happy Thanksgiving.
Muslim community about your remarks. Stuart. What do you want to say to the Muslim community about your remarks, Stuart?
Oh, there he is. He's getting arrested. Going into the car. And yes, this guy is a real scumbag. So, the lowest of the low. So I want to pull up this video here from Low Key, who gives us a more in-depth reveal of who Stuart is. And you would not believe who his mentor is. That's right. Albright. Madeleine Albright. Don't believe me? Watch the video.
Now, we've all seen this footage of Stuart Seldowitz abusing a street vendor in New York.
If we killed 4,000 Palestinian kids, you know what? It wasn't enough.
But who is Stuart Seldowitz and what has he been a part of for all of these years? Stuart Seldowitz, the 3-time recipient of the State Department's Superior Honor Award. He served in the State
Hey, look who it is. Madeleine Albright. Goodness gracious. Small world, isn't it?
Department in their Office of Israel and Palestine Affairs as Deputy Director during the Bush years. This racist man had a role in managing the lie of the two-state solution. The two-state solution that was the subterfuge through which Palestinians have been continually battered by years of Israeli occupation. The PR drive around the world, the mirage for a future that never existed. Stuart Seldowitz also was a national security advisor to President Obama, the same President Obama who led the NATO intervention of Libya, which saw the country bombed 7,000 times in a 6-month period, that led to Libyans trying to escape and drowning in the Mediterranean. His words are not just frivolous sentences coming out of the mouth of a racist, they are actual policy.
Osama in Egypt will get your parents.
Go.
Does your father like his fingernails? They'll take them out one by one.
When he speaks so easily of fingernails being removed by pro-Israel and pro-US dictators, he is not simply using poetic flair. He means people have their fingernails removed by those who are merely satraps of the US empire. What we heard on the streets of New York was an articulation of what has been effectively US policy towards the region throughout the time that that gentleman has been employed.
Now, here's the thing. I said this on yesterday's show. Washington, D.C. is a small town. Yes, it's a major city. I get it. Just like Chicago's a major city. And, I've had my family say this too in regards to media or entertainment. Yeah, Chicago's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. D.C., it's a small town, political town. Everybody knows everybody, right? It's a small community, really. It truly is. So in the cesspool that is Washington, D.C., a lot of these people, these politicians, both Democrat and Republican, be they advisors or politicians or lobby groups, probably knew what kind of person good old Stuart was. Nobody said anything or bat an eye. Or either that, as I've said before, a lot of these individuals in D.C. know how to put on a very fancy neoliberal mask, a smile, to put on an act so that none of you witness it. See, it's easy to witness or vilify somebody like Donald Trump. It's easy to point out that cartoonish, mustache-twirling villain in the shadows. But sometimes the greatest of evil can hide for a long time. Sometimes the greatest of evils can hide in the light. Keep your heads on a swivel out here, folks. I'm willing to bet a lot of lobby groups and politicians and advisors and people in positions of power knew who Stuart was. And, probably a lot of them are mumbling to themselves as they're getting ready for Thanksgiving. Yeah, that sounds like Stuart, all right. I'm just a saying.
By the US State Department. But beyond the outrage and the immediate association of Stuart Seldowitz with the US government, Obama and Bush, and bipartisan necropolitics of US empire, let's also look at the place that listed him as an employee at the time of his harassment of this man on the streets of New York. Stuart Seldowitz was listed as an employee of Gotham Government Relations. This is a lobby group for hire that has very close connection to the Israeli government. Shai Franklin, a key figure at Gotham Government Relations, was simultaneously employed by the Israel-Kosovo Chamber of Commerce and has gone to great lengths to state his support for Israel throughout this horrendous war on Gaza, even helping to organize pro-Israel demonstrations that were attended by Seldowitz himself. In addition to that, you have the case of Gary Ackerman, a US congressman registered as an employee of Gotham Government Relations. Now,
see, George Carlin, if you're up there, he's probably doing a real big musical. That's called I Told You So. It's one big club, and you ain't in it. Oh, what? Is this a surprise? Yes, they all know each other. Everybody knows each other. You think these Democrats and Republicans, yes, they are rivals. It's all a game of politics and power. But they're all friends, too. The same people who donate to Democrats who donate to Republicans. All the lobby groups know each other. Everybody knows each other. And, of course, there's rivalry and competition. I get it. But it's still one big club. You think you have a seat at the table? Personally, you don't want a seat at the table. You have to give up your soul, your integrity, your consistency of being a good person. We need to change this system, or all is truly lost.
Now, when Gary Ackerman was in US Congress, his relationship with AIPAC was so close and so well known that he even intervened and assisted in the release of an Israeli prisoner of war. You also have Gotham government relations on record attending a celebration for Israel's 70th anniversary at the United Nations alongside Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. You also have Gotham government relations working for Donald Trump in his first presidential campaign. And during that time, it was alleged that Gotham government relations paid actors $50 each to be part of a cheering crowd for Donald Trump, the president-to-be.
It's all one big show and dance. You think people are really excited to see a politician? I mean, I think at this point, the jig is up, and that's a different side note altogether. But when we look at how people are just there to see a politician, especially like maybe at a small event, there's everyone cheering and yelling out loud. You think they're real people? They're just being paid. Everybody has got to get paid.
Stuart Seldowitz is not an aberration. He is part of a wider push across these last decades that have seen genocidal wars visited upon people of Western Asia, the Middle East, and further afield. It has seen people of Afghanistan eviscerated by NATO's occupation. It's seen people of Iraq bombed with depleted uranium, which would ensure that future generations were likely to be born in horrific circumstances, and an increase of cancer, which was even larger than that left in Hiroshima. The wars that Stuart Seldowitz and his government exacted upon the rest of the world caused unspeakable human suffering. And so the ideas that we hear and revile at when he spoke them to a street vendor in New York were not merely poetic flair, they were actual policy. Alternatives like Double Down News, who engage directly in a critical way with the issues of the day and are unafraid to investigate the powerful, must be supported.
So shout out to Loki, all right, who was able to upload this video. Hey, it's some kind of happy Thanksgiving, right? I mean, look, I know I see the comments in the live stream chat, and people are saying, well, we got one. And yes, he's probably a low tier, low power level beta scumbag. We can have at least a happy Thanksgiving. Now, look, the fight for a better future is never going to be easy because the real sea monsters are still out there. That man's just a guppy. But just as a side note, too, turns out Stuart has a history of doing this. Look, when I think of the State Department, I guess the propaganda is that these are supposed to be professional, serious, super smart people who are supposed to present themselves and hold themselves up to a higher standard. I know. Hold on. Bear with me. And look, maybe I believe in this philosophy, whenever Hard Lens Media went out in the field, whether Daniel was holding the camera and I was doing an interview, or any of whenever we were going out there to cover an event, we had to uphold ourselves and represent ourselves properly, because we're representing Hard Lens Media. This is truth. And also, on another side note, when you go outside your house, you're representing yourself. You're representing your family, right? You just don't go out there being a scumbag or a jerk or a jagoff or anything of that nature. Well, it turns out Stuart doesn't live by that philosophy. This is a video that was caught by the Gray Zone. Apparently, and hold on, viewer discretion should be advised. This is ex-State Department Stuart Seldowitz harassing Russian diplomats. That won't cause an international incident. Yes, no, what? Maybe? Now, we won't see his face, but you'll hear his voice.
Is that your whorish colleague? Let me see if she knows. Maybe she'll talk. Are you one of the prostitutes? What? I can't hear you. What? Why should
Now he's out there harassing one of his colleagues, the Russian diplomat's colleague, calling her, calling her after a adult worker. There we go. I think that's very safe word to say on the YouTubes for the time being. But that's not right. I mean, come on, represent yourself properly.
I go home? I am going to my country. But are you proud of your country? Killing all those innocent women and children in Ukraine? Are you proud of that? What? Are you?
And this guy's asking to get smacked in the mouth. So why is he being made an example of? Well, probably because, it doesn't look good. His excuse is downright pathetic and childish. The guy is a cartoon villain. That's what he is. And I think we could all have a little bit of a happy Thanksgiving, knowing that, well, he's not going to have a happy Thanksgiving, and that the whole world sees him for what he truly is. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but why is it in my cynical mind, because I've seen this before, that I see old Stuart somehow secretly worming his way into another lobbying firm? It won't be broadcasted as much that he's a part of it because, it's one big club and you ain't in it. Somehow I think maybe he might land on his feet, but if there is some justice, maybe he'll be held accountable for his actions, especially harassing just a vendor, trying to get on by in a world that's understandably out of his control and out of our control as well. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope that there is some true justice and that Stuart might one day reflect on his words and his actions, and he might come to regret what he has done. Perhaps, maybe, or perhaps not. The point is, folks, what I want you to take away from this segment is this. Take care of yourselves, keep an eye on your people, and let us all push forward to build a better future. Happy Thanksgiving.
Now what you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. And we say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames, the state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the plains that in the night ignite the plains. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last, where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, 'cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few, who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.